Welcome to Play by Podcast, a podcast all about online roleplay. I'm your host, Leslie O, and on this episode, I will be talking about friendships within the online roleplay community. At its core, roleplay is a community hobby. It requires 2 or more people to interact, and whether or not we expect it to happen, friendships are forged. What do those friendships look like? How intense can they be? What impact do they have on, quote, real life? What happens when that dynamic changes? I'll be discussing these questions and more, so grab your favorite drink, get cozy, and let's dive in. So with roleplay, we have different types of connections. I have listed them out into about, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But chances are there are more. These are the 5 that I have dealt with. The first is quick and fleeting. Maybe you write with them a couple times, but nothing really sticks. These are the ones that, like I said, it's quick. You probably don't develop a long-term friendship with them. It's fun to write with them once or twice, and then it just kind of stays at that. So that's one. The next is steady back and forth. These are a little bit more frequent and a little bit more consistent. You have a little bit of chatter here and there, and it's overall pretty nice. I have a couple of these where I am writing 1 or 2 threads with, and I occasionally check in with the writer on Discord, and I'm like, oh my god, that was such a good reply. My character's probably going to be like this. Oh my god, they're so cute. And then it's kind of silent after that. There's not a lot of back and forth, but you really enjoy what you're writing. So yeah, those are really nice to have. Yeah. Next one is the I remember you. So within the roleplay community, especially when you stay within certain genres, you tend to write with a lot of the same people. So with these people, it's maybe you wrote with them years ago on another board, and now you've reconnected because, like I said, the roleplay community is small within their genres. And sometimes it's really nice where you go, oh my god, it's been, 5 years. How have you been? And you do that sort of catch-up discussion, see how they've been doing, and, you get a chance to see how their writing has progressed. And I think those connections are really fun because you've got a glimpse into your past, and then, you get to see what they are like now. The next one is pretty fun. It's the Are We Best Friends Now? These are explosive, immediate. You can't imagine your writing life without them. You're talking with them every day about characters and ships and plots and dev and oh my god, this is the best thing ever. Please don't leave me. I've had I've had a couple of these before, and it is very much it is an instant connection. It is, wow, we are on the same exact wavelength. I feel the same way about our writing styles. It is the stepbrothers connection. Did we just become best friends? Everything is amazing. These are really fun, and these spark your creativity instantly. You start talking about your characters and imagining all these different situations that they're in. You start plotting out their story arcs. If you have a ship, like a romantic connection between these characters. This is when you start talking about what their past may have been, what their present state is, and where you want to see them go. And you just chat all through the night. You're thinking about this person. It is like fireworks. And they're fun. They're very, very fun. You got to be careful though, because, well, I'll talk about that later, but when dynamics change, it can get pretty sad. And then the last one is online to actual friends. And these are the people that you have actually met in real life. You set up a coffee date, or maybe you drive a couple hours to meet them, or maybe you happen to be in the same city at that time and you plan to meet up. Whatever the situation is, these people have become a real life friend. Maybe you friend them on Facebook. Back in the day, as everyone did, it wasn't official until it was Facebook official. But, now things are shifting out of that type of social interaction. But these are the ones that the very few you can actually call I say actually, but you can call them a real life friend. Because even though you may still write with them virtually, you have met them in person. You have put that face-to-face moment. You've had that, and it's a whole different dynamic than just staying 100% online. It adds another depth of realism, I think. I have a few people that I have met in person. A majority of them are from a particular time in my life, back in, I think it was 2007, 2008 through 2011. It was all on like the same site. If for those of you who have been listening to this, it's the Infamy and Entropy crew. If you hear my dog barking, apologies. I do live in a townhouse in Baltimore, so this is one of those instances where you may hear him, and I'm not great at editing, so you may or may not. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So I've met a majority of the people that are from Infamy and Entropy, and I did move in with one of them when I first moved to Maryland. So it's a different dynamic for sure than those you maintain online. So that's why I categorize it differently, because it introduces a new level of closeness, a new level of familiarity, which I think is important. Regarding these connections, though, they are delicate. These relationships are fragile. And that's because we communicate all through instant messaging. And as we all are aware, within instant messaging, within text, tone is hard to read. And so that lends itself to instances where someone may misinterpret something someone says, or there's a miscommunication. And if there's not a good level of trust and communication between the two people or between multiple peoples, that misinterpretation can easily happen, and it can lead to some pretty bad fallouts. And then, many of us make assumptions a lot of the time, and either don't think or don't want or are uncomfortable to seek clarification for different reasons. Like, oh, it's obvious they no longer want to write with me. Or, oh, I could bring this up, but it'll be a weird conversation, and I don't really want to, like, push that person. I won't be comfortable. Or, instances of, I'm super mad at this, and I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna do my own thing, and that's gonna be it. It can happen over the most mundane things, too. For those in the community who use face claims, popular actors, singers, models, even some social media people. There are popular faces that people like to use, and sometimes it can be as simple as you, quote, like, stole my favorite face claim, um, because someone feels like they have control over using that one celebrity. Um, and it I've seen it spiral before over something so innocuous as who's playing your character, and people don't want to have that conversation of, well, here are some alternates, or hey, let's talk through this. um I've seen a lot of people dig their heels in about it, and it's just it's it's unfortunate, you know. um but then these miscommunications can also happen over bigger things like long-term plans for certain characters. As an example, um, you you know, I may have a character that has a relationship, you know, a romance plot with another character, and someone else wants to introduce a past relationship, um, to, you know, create some development, to create that backstory. There's nothing happening present state or future state, but you're just adding that layer of interest. Um, and the person who has the character who's going to be in a relationship, has that romantic interest, they may misinterpret that and see it as, oh no, they want to have a romantic relationship with them, and they make that assumption and then don't talk about it, and then suddenly change all the plans that you've been working on to have this romantic relationship between these two characters, and it just ruins the whole plot because they misunderstood, misinterpreted, and then didn't talk to you about it, which can be really frustrating and really disheartening. And it can lead to some pretty big fallouts, like I said. Um, Sometimes entire sites have crumbled because of a misinterpretation, a miscommunication, or a misrepresentation. Um, you know, these things can fester when people don't talk about them openly, don't work it out. And, you know, other people on the site can take sides. And honestly, it gets really frustrating because, especially myself, I'm in my 30s, I'm an adult, and having these things take place and then people take sides, and it just gets messy. And I'm not here for mess. You know, I mean, my characters, I'm going to put them in all the mess I want to, because that is being a writer. You want to create drama, and mess is fun when it's fictional. But when you're dealing with real people and it has real implications and it impacts your creativity, and it just sucks. And that's not why I do this hobby. I do this to write with other people and have a good time. Um, and an unfortunate part of this is when people take sides, they may not have the full story, but people have been like blacklisted because of soured friendships. And I haven't had it happen like to me personally, but I've seen it happen. And I will say I've been on the one side of, you know, I don't really like the vibe of this person. Um, I'm going to avoid writing with them because we're just not clicking. I don't enjoy the way they write. I don't enjoy the type of characters that they play. Um, and I have no desire to write with them. Um, I've been on that side, but it's more of a personal like preference, a personal vibe. Not everyone is going to get along in role play, and that's fine because not everyone gets along in real life. But, you know, you handle it with maturity, and, you know, I'm not going to openly say, "Well, I don't like you, so I'm not going to write with you." Um I enjoy chatting with people in the general chat. But overall, I don't go out of my way to think of plots with them. And I think that's personally, that's the way I handle it. If you if you handle these differently, feel free to, tell me, send me a message. You can send me an email. You can send fan mail. For those of you who have my Discord, drop me a message to talk about how you prefer to handle this. But that's just how I do. So I'm going to talk about the real life impact of these connections that we make online. Starting with what we share with people that we interact with on a daily basis. I have a partner, I have a fiance. I've got my siblings, and I mean, I share enough about this hobby that they understand what it is that I do. But I mean, it can be kind of awkward. And for a long time, I didn't really go into depth about what this hobby entails. Starting with the fact that many people automatically assume it's something sexual because of the historical context of roleplay. A lot of people immediately go to, oh, roleplay in the bedroom. While there are instances of spicy roleplay, that's not at all the majority of what it is that I do. So a lot of people avoid talking about it because of just the general awkwardness of saying, oh yeah, I write online with a bunch of strangers and we create stories. So a lot of us just say we're writing with friends online because it's easier to say that. Or collaborative storytelling, which does help connect a lot of dots, because it is essentially what we're doing. We're creating a story with other people, whether that story is long term or not depends on the story, depends on the other writer. Yeah. In the past, I like I said, I didn't go too deep into my hobby with any of my partners because it was just awkward. But now I tell my fiance everything, because she genuinely enjoys listening to me talk about the things I'm passionate about. She, when I talk about something fun I've written, she says, "Oh, tell me more," or "Have you written today? What are you writing today?" And I get really excited talking about it because, again, it is something that I enjoy. It's something I'm passionate about. It's something I've done for over half my life, or it probably is half my life at this point. So, it's a big part of what I do, and being creative is important to me. So, that's something that I enjoy having and being able to do is discuss these things with, my partner. I know other people don't. Many valid reasons. Not everyone can or wants to talk about roleplay so candidly, so openly. I know a lot of people have, well, not a lot. I take that back. Some people have expressed, like, insecure partners. This can sometimes happen when you talk about writing with, if you're a woman, writing with other men and you have a male partner, some can get kind of insecure about that. It doesn't happen a lot, but I've heard it. And that's not great. That's not fun. Also, varying degrees of shame, depending on what you write about. This is more pervasive, I think, with queer writers, and they may not be out or open in their community, and this is a way for them to explore that part of themselves. And there is that level of shame of this isn't normal, which it is unfortunate. And I did go into that in my last episode about exploring your sexuality in safe spaces, but there is still that level of shame sometimes. And then other people, they like to explore the taboo. They like to explore things that people may talk about in hushed tones, may judge. And part of role play is exploring things that you may not get to explore in real life, or things that you're interested in fiction but not in real life. Um, certain things, certain plots that may be mature. I won't go into too much detail here, but there are a lot of things in like that are sexual in nature that they may want to write about, or excessively violent that they want to explore. And, no shaming on here, but there may be some internal shame, or they may not be, they don't feel comfortable talking about it with those that are close to them. Um, and then the last one, it's just weird or awkward. Again, talking to people who don't get it can be weird. Um, oh, you write with strangers online about vampires and werewolves, or about fantasy, about science, whatever genre it is. A lot of people don't get it, and it just makes for awkward conversation. So it it depends on who you surround yourself with. I think it also depends on your history with talking about things so openly. Um, I'm lucky enough to have a partner who enjoys listening to what I have to say about what I write. So I tend to be more open about talking about this. But it just varies I think, from person to person at an individual level about how much they disclose about this particular hobby. On that note, there is that dichotomy of online and real life. For some people, sometimes roleplay can be more stimulating, more inviting, more enjoyable than real life. Um, in my teens and 20s, that is literally all I wanted to do. I only wanted to be online. I only wanted to be writing. I only wanted to be chatting with my friends online. And many of my real life responsibilities fell to the wayside. I didn't want to hang out with family. I didn't want to hang out with real life friends because they weren't nearly as like interesting. I had my creative mind just exploding at all of the fun things that I'm doing online. And I mean, I was also going through a period of depression when I was in college at first. And the only real happiness that I found was through online role play. So I would stay up till the wee hours of the morning. And I a lot of times wouldn't go to class because I was not in the right mindset. And I'm not saying this as this is what you should do. This is more of something that I personally went through. It wasn't great, you know? Online people love to talk to me. They gave me attention. Real life friends didn't seem to want to hang out as much. And this was my perception from having a very, very sad brain. It was likely different. It was probably they were just busy. But I interpreted and perceived it as they didn't want to hang out with me. And all my online friends, they showered me with praise. They actively wanted to talk about things. It was more stimulating, more inviting to me personally. And I can imagine a lot of people have that same experience. And because of this, it can lead to isolation and social withdrawal. If you are continually thinking about being online and that nobody in real life wants to hang out with you, it becomes a cycle. It becomes this vicious like circle, right? It leads to more isolation and more withdrawal. So all that to say, I think it is extremely important to have a balance between roleplay and real life. if and when possible, because you want to maintain a healthy mind and healthy relationships with those that are in your circle. This is a hobby. It's supposed to be fun, but also, I don't know, it might just be me and what I've been through. But I think it's good to have a balance between the two. Sometimes you gotta unplug. You gotta go out and spend time with your loved ones that know you in real life. Go spend time with your neighbors if you have them, your friends, your partner, your family if you're still on good terms. So yeah, that's just my things that I've learned of online versus real life experiences and relationships. The last thing I want to talk about is when these dynamics change. In the roleplay community, we have a saying that RL is greater than RP. If you were to write it out, that's what it looks like. But it essentially means your actual life is more important than this hobby. It means take care of yourself first. Sometimes people have to pull away from writing, and that's totally okay. That's fine. That's even encouraged sometimes. It happens to pretty much all of us, and it is important to know when you need to step back to focus on improving your situation at home, whether that is taking a mental break or you have things going on in your personal life that need more of your attention, like work or maybe family, maybe something happens and you need to really focus on that. On the other side of that, it is hard when your writing partner has to bow out for whatever reason. Because you want to support them. And again, RL is greater than RP. Real life is more important than your hobby. But there is that sense of loss. The unfinished plots that were bringing you all this joy, the endless possibilities of the future. I recently had someone that I was writing with, and it was one of those connections that was like, oh my God, we're BFFs now. We had a great plot. We had our characters. We were writing them every day, and it was fantastic. We actually we accomplished a plot within months because we had worked so hard on them, and we were writing so quickly because we were just so inspired, right? And then, they suddenly just stopped being around as much. They were working on themselves, and, you got to respect that, right? And then it was just suddenly, oh, I'm going to take a break and a hiatus from writing, which I get and I respect. But the way that it felt, it was very much a sense of loss for me. And it sucked. It really did, because I went from talking with them every day to, reaching out and they maybe respond every couple weeks, and then suddenly they were gone. And I went through a lot of emotions when it happened. I went through sadness and anger, and then guilt for feeling that way, because as we say, real life is more important than role play. You got to take care of yourself. But you also, this is a friendship that I'd created with this person. And we had a really, really good thing going, and then it was just gone. It was left, and I had to figure out how to have my character move forward without this person being involved in that discussion. It was upsetting, and I'm pretty much over it now. There are still times I think about them and I get a little sad, just because, it was an important thing at that moment in time. And I'm sure a lot of you have gone through this same situation. It hurts. It sucks, you know? But at the end of the day, it is a hobby, and you got to persevere. You got to just keep pushing. Think of it as a creative exercise in, oh no, like this thing happened. What are you going to do about it? So I eventually accepted it and moved past it. And I'm working on, a new future for my character. It just really sucked at the time. But that is an example of something that happens when they're like, hey, I need to take time for myself. It's not the same as ghosting. Um, Ghosting is when people just go poof. No bowing out, no goodbye. They just stop talking to you. Most of the time, it is because of that real life, is more important than role play, or that role play has grown too overwhelming, and they think that it's easier to just disappear rather than have the potentially hard conversation with their writing partners. When ghosting happens, we try not to take it personally because we all experience burnout. And like I said before, it can be hard to deal with as the person who was ghosted. I mean, for those of you who are doing, online dating, it's the same situation. You're talking with this person, maybe you really like them, and then suddenly they just stop talking to you. It's jarring. You're thrown for a loop. And in this situation, when you grow close with another writer and you develop these amazing characters, plots, arcs, and such together, and then they're just gone. No warning, no message of, hey, I need to take a break, nothing. They just disappear. And it's hard not to take that personally. And it's just because of the immaturity of it. And I'm going to take that stand here because this is my podcast and I'm going to talk about that. I think it's immature to ghost. If you want to stop writing, just say so. Tell your friends you need a break, or tell them you've got stuff going on. You don't have to go into specifics. Most people will understand if you want to pause or take a hiatus or deal with personal shit that's going on. We have all been there at one point or another, and we empathize completely. Now, if you tell someone this and they react poorly, like, that's on them. Like, hey, I'm experiencing burnout. I need to take a break. And they go, oh my God, how could you? We have all these things going on. How could you do this to me? Like, that's on them. Obviously there's going to be some emotions going on, but we're not playing the blame game here. If someone needs to bow out, that happens. You gotta take that gracefully. But at least have the courage and the respect for your fellow writers to tell them you need to take a break. Yeah, that's how I feel about ghosting. Don't do it, kids. I say kids. Don't do it, people. It's rude. It's not what we want to be doing in this hobby that is community related. The next part is as a trigger warning. For all of you who are sensitive to this, I will be talking about death, which unfortunately does happen in this. So, while some people ghost, that is something that they choose to do. There are instances when friends we've made online pass when they die. Sometimes we're never notified. We don't know. Suddenly they're just gone. And we are left guessing as to what happened. There are times where we do find out that the friends we've made have died. And in the event we are notified, it's a struggle to comprehend the idea that they will never come back. There's no opportunity for closure. You're left with unanswered messages, the hanging plots and threads, and sometimes there's grief. If you're that close, there is going to be that intense grief of losing a close friend. I have personally wondered if a couple of my old writing partners have died, because we had such amazing plots and characters, and we were speaking on a daily or semi-daily basis before they disappeared. One lived in Cape Town, South Africa, and the other lived somewhere in South America. I don't remember the country. But when they stopped communicating out of the blue, it was jarring. And to this day, like I still wonder what happened to them. I wonder if, you know, they died. I wonder if they were somehow, I don't even know. The more I imagine, the more upsetting it gets. So, for those of you who would like a little bit of insight into this part of it, Netflix has a documentary called The Remarkable Life of Evelyn. It was released last year in 2024, and it does a really good job of showing the impact of building an online community when you have no other way of enjoying real life. It follows the life of a Norwegian gamer who died of a degenerative muscular disease at 25. His parents thought that he had a lonely and isolated life, and then they started receiving messages from online friends around the world that talked about the amazing person that this gamer was. So I recommend checking that out on Netflix to look into that part of the online friendships that you make and the impact that you have, and what happens when a person dies. It's a good story, if you're into that. I know that was a lot to go through, and I ended on not a great note, but generally I love the relationships that I have created and cultivated with all the people online that I've met these past 15 odd years of role playing. But the question is always at the back of my mind, and at the back of many other role players' minds. How much should I invest in this connection? So many of us have been burned by past interactions and are understandably hesitant to reach out to new people, despite loving the process of character creation, plot development, and the simple act of chatting with like-minded people. My experience after all of this, though, life is short. Enjoy the hobby. And always remember that communication is at the heart of every good relationship. It can be for a short time or a long time. But as long as you are being authentically yourself and respectful to your writing partners, it should always be a good time. It should always be a good time. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Again, this has been my personal experience in the world of online roleplay. I'm not speaking for anyone but myself here. And as a reminder, this podcast now has a website. You can follow me there or subscribe through any of the available platforms listed. Check it out at playbypodcast.buzzsprout.com. And I don't actually have any idea on the next episode. I was really interested in writing this all out about the friendships and the connections that we make. So next time it'll be a big surprise. I'm excited to think about what more to talk about. I'll probably be reaching out to some of my friends for some ideas, or just to see, hey, what else would you like to listen to or talk about? So I'm also going to put this out to you all listening. If you have ideas on things that I could potentially discuss on here, or if you would like to guest star, I could set up a conversation, we could record it, and that could be really fun. I like to talk to people also, so I think it would be really fun to do. If you're interested, take a look at my website, send me a message. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Until next time, bye.